Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talkin Wellness. So happy to have you with us. My name is Christian.
It's your boy, Michael.
And I'm Kayla.
And we are back for a little bit of a different episode. Michael brought this awesome idea that we wanted to bring for today's episode. As you can see, we have a bowl here with like different pieces of paper that have some sort of writing in it. So as you saw by the title, this episode is called This or That. We're going to be kind of like a general conversation here of different types of topics. We're going to pull a paper from this bowl, and we're going to have a conversation based on whatever this or that template it gives us. For example, this or that could be do pineapple on pizza. Agree? Disagree? What do you guys think?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
I say yes as well.
I mean, not every day, but can I do it? Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wonderful. I thought that was going to be more of a big argument. I love it. So you guys get the point. It's going to be this or that questions, but they all have to do in some way, shape, or form with wellness, recovery, or general topics that we've discussed on the podcast before. Before we do that, let's do a little welcome back, right? We haven't been posting in a while. You guys probably saw last week's episode with Antoinette. We're slowly coming back into things. How are we doing? What's new? What's different, guys?
Nothing much. Same old. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be with you guys and hanging out with you guys. I feel like life has been a little bit similar to how it's usually been. I've been a little bit more structured with certain things. I've been reading my Bible more. I've had like a daily plan to do it, I guess. My mom got me like a learning book, a learning Bible, and it tells you what to read each day. So that's awesome.
Cool.
I'm very good for me. It just tells me what to do and I do it. So that's good. I've cut my hair. I'm tired of like long hair, so I'm like
I gotta cut
probably gonna cut my hair even lower. I'm going back to the low hair.
Everyone's buzz cutting right now. I guess it's the season.
I'm over there looking like a little kid, like broccoli haircuts. I don't want to ever be called that or seen that or be in that category of people. So that's why. And number 3, and a lot of like scared investing because the market's been crazy. And the economy has just been really, really down.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks.
It's been a lot of research on that aspect for me.
I totally forgot that you were investing a lot.
Yeah.
We talked about it a
and
few
I say
weeks
scary
ago.
investing because when you're investing, this is the best time to do it, but it's scary because
never
everything's
know.
down and it keeps going down.
Yeah, it keeps going
But
down.
at the same time, this is when you make money. This is how you got to make money. This is how you make money.
Yeah. Isn't anything in related to money a risk?
Exactly.
Almost anything.
And
is, so.
you just, and I'll explain it as simple as like let's say like there's a coin right now that was $300, one of the best coins in the world, and now it's $100. So let's say if you put $300 into that same coin and it goes back up, you just made 200% your money. So that's like life-changing money for some people if they're willing to take the risk. If you put in 20 grand into something, you can make 40 grand back like that. And it's a guaranteed asset. This asset is something that's going to for sure return. It's like Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, that's my opinion. That's
No,
whatever.
that's cool.
But how about you guys?
Well, for me, this has been part of the reason why we haven't been recording is because we've all been busy with stuff.
Yeah.
We here at the office of South Florida Wellness Network, we've been going to the beach a lot, passing out Narcan. So we literally has been an all hands on deck kind of thing. This past weekend, actually, I was at Pride in Miami Beach. We passed so much. We passed, what was the number? 1,500, 1,600,
yeah.
something like that. We walked the parade. I fell in the middle of the parade. That was really
Lovely.
funny.
You had your high heels on or something, or
I don't know. I just hit a curve and I just decked it. But anyways, it was really fun. It was cool to represent South Florida Wellness Network in that capacity.
Sure.
Somebody from CBS News Miami recorded me, asked me questions about. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find that video since last night. I don't know where it went, but I know she recorded me, so that was cool. And then obviously weeks beyond that, we've been also passing out Narcan at different events like Ultra Tortuga, Spring Break, and that's been really, really fun.
Yeah, probably what would you say, over 10,000
No,
Narcan?
30,000.
30,000 official cartridges of Narcan have been passed to South Florida.
And let's
people.
say if we take the 1% rule, what's 1% of 30,000? 3,000 or no? 300?
3,000 of 30,000, 3,000. I believe. Yeah.
Wait, 1%?
300, 300.
1%. Sorry. Yeah.
300.
I said 10%. Sorry.
Dang, we can't do math.
1%.
So let's say 300, and they say 1% of
Reversals.
everything is always affected. So
Yeah.
let's say we help 300 lives.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And,
It's amazing.
I mean,
I know we have had reported reversals, so just one life is enough.
One
Yeah.
reported reversal is a win. You
Yeah.
know?
But
So-
we've definitely had more
so-
than that, which is great.
So that's great.
When you think about like the lives and people that like we all each have a life that we're out there passing stuff out, and if you're saving one life, that one life can go out and pass out another 30,000. So
Yeah.
that was one of the great things. I met people from other countries that
Yeah.
came to spring break here in Fort Lauderdale, and I've met people from England, and they took a box of Narcan because you can travel with it in planes.
Yeah, you can.
They took a box of Narcan to England. Now somebody in England potentially could be saved, and that's and it starts here at South Florida.
Yeah.
So thinking about it in that way, it's really special. But in my personal life, working hard, and I've been losing weight. I've
Amen.
lost this month, this past 3 months. I started the year at 300. I'm at 288 now.
Awesome.
Well,
Good
that's
for you.
awesome.
So I'm
You go, Chris.
I'm
That's
really
great for
trying to
you.
like
Health journey. Yeah.
health
love
journey, fasting, walking a lot, trying to drink more water than ever before.
That's awesome.
And just hopefully, by the end of the year, I can.
I've always said this, like, in regarding to fitness. I love fitness, so it's something that I enjoy doing. But when it was one of my first job I ever had was as a personal trainer. And one thing I learned immediately as a personal trainer is that everybody doesn't have that same feeling towards fitness that I do, you know? And in order to help someone find a level of fitness in their life is to help them find something that has them moving and has them doing that they enjoy and that they can keep doing. A lot of people will like try to force people or try to put them in a box to like go to the gym or do this, or you're not adequate enough if you don't do that. But that has always been a negative thing that I've seen, and it's always about finding something that breaches the gap, or bridges it,
Yeah.
a bit of like, maybe he's not going to the gym and maybe he's doing this stuff. So how can I compromise it a bit? And then after time, that conviction hits. And the person I was just talking to, my friend, he weighed over 260 pounds and he's 5'4", like 5'4", 5'3".
Oh,
so
wow.
it looked a lot on him. And now he weighs 185. He's lost
Phenomenal.
like 75 pounds with
Wow.
me in the last year, just from like grinding, working out, like very strict, like strict dieting, but also like a diet that he's been convicted to do. Not something he's like, bro, I hate this. Like, how are you making me do this? It's more like,
Yeah, it works for him.
I want to.
That's the only way
Yeah,
I've been
wanna
able
it's
to
the
do
only
it.
way to
Yeah,
do it,
exactly. So it really takes a level of like helping someone find their conviction versus pushing someone to do something that they're not really comfortable doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like that's awesome that you're doing it, and that's really all it is. It just takes
Yeah.
one step, bro.
I'll say this, and we'll move to you, Caleb. But I'll say this: I would have never been able to walk a full parade in January. Like, there's just no way. Passing out all the Narcan that I've been doing, I counted every time I went. My Brendan, which you've seen on the podcast before, we were counting our steps on the app, and we both hit 16,000 steps both days that we went to do outreach together. And then yesterday at Pride Parade, I hit 13,000.
Yeah.
So, it's just to think about taking that many steps and walking 6 miles
Yeah.
in one day. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
But I did it. And
Yeah.
I never, ever. So
That's
I recommend it, guys.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The
What an
biggest issue with
achievement, yeah.
the biggest issue with fitness culture is gymflation, where a lot of people are like so caught up with the idea of I need to keep up with everybody else's
Yeah.
standards, and it's like it's just
Has
not
nothing to
like
do with
that.
that.
You have to do whatever is your
Yeah.
journey. And the number one things for weight loss, like usually when you're a person that's not like doing stuff, is usually just improving your diet and having a less sedentary life.
Bro,
like you were
fasting
you were
has
not you were walking so much, and that just activates so much more in your body that so many people don't do nowadays because they work from home and they work very sedentary jobs. So it's really not like the obesity epidemic is really not on people's laziness. It's because of the way the world is nowadays.
That is
And
true.
if you're
Everything
not-
is easy. Everything is on your
everything is
screen.
made to be coattailed easy, to just be lazy and easy.
Which
And if-
creates more health problems.
100%. So like you have to go out
Yeah.
of your way to go to the gym
But
and do
isn't
stuff.
that-
Versus before, if you look at high schools and stuff and the way they trained and the way they were active and athletic, it just you didn't have to do that stuff, you know?
But isn't it interesting how like we actually, and this is not just like health wise with like fitness, but like we need to be challenged in everything in order to achieve good health outcomes, meaning mentally. So if you take away like our mental capacity to think or challenging critical thinking and all of that, you will actually like hinder your abilities. Like your mental health will deteriorate. So it's like we're supposed to take healthy risks and challenges in life that are going to push us to better health outcomes.
Adversity builds strength.
Yeah. So it's just, but in everything, So I just
all right.
came to my mind.
What about you,
yourself,
Kayla? Updates.
Man,
How's life?
life is great. Super, super blessed. We've been really busy. Obviously, like the spring break outreach and just a lot of things going on with South Florida Wellness Network, our expansions, and been doing a lot of work at the Pregnant and Parenting Center, which I love, and just am so excited that we have that new kind of niche to support pregnant women and parenting families, because I think that they need a lot of support. Obviously, they're bringing in new life and just being able to get on that like intervention, prevention side to support their process of wellness and recovery and being new parents. And then in my personal life, I'm planning a wedding and doing all that fun stuff, which is like, it's really exciting. I planned actually multiple trips this year of travel, which I'm so excited about. This is like my year of travel. It's also my Jesus year. I'll be 33 this year. So it's like just, a lot of cool things happening in life, and can't complain. And all of that's due to recovery and the grace of God. So
absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Let's do it.
So I think the best way to do this is we all pass around the bowl, each one of us grabbing a question, and we read it out loud, and we go from there. What do you guys think?
That works.
Amazing.
Alrighty, I'll start us off. Here we go. Into the bowl I go. This or that. Starting with the first one here.
Ignore my handwriting if it's mine. I just
Great.
scrabbled.
This is one of the ones we hinted at each other because we didn't tell each other everything that we were going to put in here. So I'm excited. Uncomfortable truths or comforting lies. This or that. So which one would you prefer? Uncomfortable truth or comforting lies?
I feel like we're all going to say the same thing.
Uncomfortable truths.
Yeah. I feel like we're all going to say the same thing. One, because we might feel that way. And two, because it's like, it's the right thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the right thing to say.
I think it depends on the... I'm just trying to think, what would I want to hear?
Realistically.
Realistically.
Yeah,
No. Really,
yeah.
I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. Obviously, if there's something that I'm doing or that there's something that is not going well, I want somebody to tell me, hey, the hard truth. Hey, this is what's going on. And even though it's a little uncomfortable, we need to talk about it because this is what's going on so I can fix it and do better. However, I'm also trying to think, like, imagine me going into a young person's house, which is my job. And it's the first time I meet them and they're telling me all the things that are going on. And I hear hints of like, oh, it sounds to me that a lot of this could have been different if you had just decided to dedicate a little more time to this and that, right? How do I maneuver that? Especially, I'm thinking in the mindset of a person who's coming into the job that we do for the first time, first few weeks, and putting myself in that position of like, well, I've been told that I want to be supportive and that's part of the job, but at the same time, this doesn't make any sense and they're making dumb decisions. How do I balance that? So it's not that I support comforting lies. It's that I guess I'm weary about how truthful you are in that uncomfortable truth.
I think it's like this. I think that you need to build rapport to where people know you care, but never give people a lie just for comfort. Because if you truly care about someone, then you want to bring that truth that you know could be life-saving. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to choose that truth, right? But like if I'm observing something and I've built a rapport with you where I can speak into your life, I'm always going to bring you the honesty out of love, right? And it's always going to feel uncomfortable because even for me in recovery, I love, working on myself. I love all these things. It's still, there's times where like somebody will tell me something and I want to feel defensive.
Absolutely.
And then I'm like, calm down, look at this, Kayla. And I have to like kind of talk myself through that. But I think at the end of the day, when you really care about somebody, you have to bring them the truth. You can't lie to them because you can rob them of an opportunity for them to see like an area in their life that they can do better. So if my intention and my motive in my heart is I want to see the best in you and I know your potential and like I believe in you, then I think when you bring it in that way, no matter what, like you're not doing like wrong, But we can't like condemn people and come at them like hardcore and stuff like that. And I think building rapport with people.
Yeah, truth versus condemnation, right? Like, oh, you're dumb for doing that decision versus, hey, I don't know if that was the best decision.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Let's
you
look
know?
at that.
Yeah.
Let's try to figure something out.
I think the most important thing in life is realizing when you have a mistake so that you can correct it.
Yeah.
And that's how growth is actually determined between each person. So if you're always told that you're not doing anything wrong, or if you're never you never hear it that you're doing something wrong, or you're not aware of it, then you're never going to change. And if you're not changing, then you're never going to improve. You're not going to grow.
And it's interesting. I've had the chance to see that in person. I've worked with all ages, whether it be the little preschoolers to now working with youth and young adults. And I've seen what happens to those children or teenagers or youth that have those type of families where they're like, oh, they're never wrong, my little sweetheart, like how you're wrong. They can't have. I've seen that kind of personality in a lot of children. It's a little scary.
It is scary because then they always think that they're righteous in what they're doing, and they can lead themselves into some very dangerous spaces. Yeah, I will be the first to admit when my son does something wrong, because I model it for myself too when I'm wrong, and I need him to understand, like, we're going to make mistakes in life. The most important thing is that you will recognize those mistakes and make it right and learn from it. If you learn from it, then we won't even count it as a failure because you grew from it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
Next one. Kayla.
Cheek, 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 cheek.
This is good. This is a good idea, Michael. Way to go.
Thank you.
Okay. Narcan. Harmful or
I'm so
necessary? Does it lead to more use? So does it enable people's use, or does it lead to more lives saved?
I mean, I feel that I'm very passionate about this one because it's the one thing I've been doing for the past 2 months. I've had the chance to go to high schools and talk about Narcan to one of their health classes, the outreach that I've been doing, and funny enough and surprisingly enough, to a lot of family members and friends who were just curious. But wouldn't Narcan like lead to? And I wrote that question actually because shout out to a family member of mine. I won't name them, but we were having dinner and they said, but wouldn't that lead them to using more? And one of the best analogy I could come up on the spot, and it's an analogy that I kind of like, is like, do you think Band-Aids lead to more broken bones?
Yeah.
And she was like, what? Yeah, do you think Band-Aids lead to more broken bones? And she was like, no. Then how does this medication lead to more use?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I guess I see that, because a lot of people think that Narcan or naloxone in this scenario is kind of like a what would you call it, like a now I feel good, now I'm done, like I can keep using, give me more. No, like a lot of people wake up from after an overdose, they're not good, it's not okay, they need to go to the hospital immediately because they're not in a healthy place at the moment, right? So to think that naloxone is just like, oh, boom, I can use more now if I wanted to. It's just, I think it's an uneducated way of thinking. And including, in addition to that, also, a lot of the times people who overdose, they don't know that they're taking a substance that will lead them to an overdose. I mean, fentanyl is being laced in so many different things. The amount of stories, I'll tell you a story. I went to Fort Lauderdale spring break, and we had a wonderful conversation with this young person, and she revealed to us that the night before we were there, her best friend had a overdose, and she was at the hospital. And like, we're starting to see this on a regular basis. So to say so passionately, and I wrote that question because sadly some people came up to us and they said word for word, let them die, forget it. It's their choice. And I think that's just such an irresponsible way to see things, because a lot of the people who came up to us had a drink in their hand. A lot of us had a vape pen hanging from their keychains. A lot of them I saw them later on smoking a cigarette. And those things these days are being laced, and we just don't know it.
Yeah, and even if it's not, I mean, even if you have somebody that's using opiates, they're addicted to fentanyl because it's a very addicting drug, like, to let somebody die, like that's insanity.
That's
to
insane
me.
to
Yeah,
me. And like
you
to
know?
have that mentality of like, so if somebody's
Yeah.
choking on a chicken bone, you're just gonna let them die. You're not gonna give them, oh, it's their fault. They were eating chicken. It's like,
Yeah.
what is that kind of mentality?
Yeah. And when you look at the opiate epidemic and just like how with like Oxycontin, and obviously we know because we get opiate abatement funds that are pumped into the United States now because of what big pharma and all of these industries have done and the pill mills and all of that, which drove a lot of the opiate epidemic. And then on top of that, if you know that opiates, whether you have pain, so if I like broke my leg and I have pain, an opiate's going to help me to not feel that pain. Well, your brain doesn't know the difference. So even if you have internal pain, so like say I'm somebody who's had like a lot of trauma in my life, if I take an opiate, it's going to remove that pain. The brain doesn't know the difference. So a lot of people that get addicted to opiates and substance use could have came through the having a injury or whatever, but then also the internal injury, like somebody's trauma, their mental health and things like that, they don't know the difference. And it's such an addicting drug psychologically and dependently that like to think about that, and people are just, that's just ignorance, you know? So
yeah, so absolutely, I think Narcan saves lives.
Yeah.
I wear it proudly on all my shirts.
Share your story publicly or keep it private.
ooh, that's a good one.
Yep. Ooh, this one's always tough because I remember when I was first asked to share my story, and I was a newbie here, and this place is really good at encouraging you to speak up and share your story, because essentially it's our story that we utilize to support individuals in the community. We share our lived experiences with them so they understand that they're not alone, one, and that hope is out there. There's recovery is possible. So I've learned to appreciate the fact of sharing my story, but I will be the first to admit that when I started, private. I think there's more power in letting people know that they're not alone. You know, that recovery is possible, that just because something happened to you and it really hurt you in one way, shape, or form, that doesn't mean that your story doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that your story is not powerful. We even have a series here on the podcast called My Story Matters for that reason, because we believe in the power of sharing your story. You know? What do you think, Mike?
No, I mean, I think your story is super important. I feel like a lot of times I find myself telling my mom's story to random strangers on the street or at Publix or at the gym, because I think it's very influenced of my life and of the like things that I see that are possible in life. So, and I'm sure people sometimes could think of like, man, he's telling his mom did heroin and stuff. But at the end of the day, it always comes like 180, and it's like a cool story to tell. So, you know, back to your point, like I think it's great to tell your story no matter how negative it could be, whether it's your story, someone else's story. Like we celebrate people on like every month, Martin Luther King, to celebrate their story, you know? So like, I think your story is so important as far as to help other people put themselves in your shoes, like you said, and also just to show that everybody's different too. Like you can have an individual personality and it could be completely not like someone else, but you could still have certain things that you agree upon, like, or stand on or whatever, you know? So I think it is extremely important to share your story. I think the people that really go out there and drive those stories out of people too, like people that could really get people to talk, I think that's amazing too. Because I know, like you said, there are people that are really hard to be expressive, and it's hard for them not to be private life all the time. And for those people that are really good at helping them break down those walls and get them to share, that's the best superpower I think you can have.
Recover out loud.
Yeah, agreed.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
I'm gonna go down another order, or okay.
Here we go. Aha, I got one. Oh, actually, I got two, but I got one. Kayla, I know you're going to like this one. Clinician or peer specialist?
Ooh. So, honestly, my honest opinion is both.
Yeah.
I
same here.
think that peers have a unique ability to connect on lived experience that puts us in a space sometimes where we have a real ability to give real hope through sharing of our story, like the power of our testimonies, and like,
experience,
100%, right? Like, I not only have a roadmap, but like I know every feeling that I've experienced that we can relate on to walk through these things. And there's like this just complete like non-judgment and like acceptance, and even like this like understanding and belonging that someone feels when they connect with someone who has some kind of similar lived experience and also has that recovery experience. So I absolutely believe that. But I also think that clinicians go to school and learn a lot of skill and ability to support individuals in another way that is really important.
It almost is like similar to the comforting lies in that one debate where it's like you need a balance of both.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, the peer specialist is going to absolutely understand the emotional experience and that aspect, versus a clinician doesn't really care about your emotion. For the most part, they're more going to care about stats or science or fact over opinion. So I think it's good to have that balance.
Yeah,
because
and you're not far off. There's somebody that I know that shared a very interesting story with me about their experience with their clinician, and they shared with me that they felt this person wasn't listening to them, and when they advocated for themselves, the clinician told them, well, what do you think? Or you think you're an expert or something like that? Like, I'm the clinician here, not you. Mm-hmm. And I think there's such a danger in that kind of mentality when care providers, whether it be clinicians or whether it be doctors, medical doctors, mm-hmm. right? I think there's such a danger when we stop listening to the people that we're helping, right? Where peer support, and again, I'm not saying it's better, but this is where peer support comes in, which is a model that I agree with, because we kind of have to listen to mm-hmm. what they tell us, because if we don't, we can't do our jobs.
Right.
We have to listen what are their needs so that we can connect them with resources. We have to listen to what are some of the stresses they're experiencing so we can help them create wellness plans and goal plans. So I always say this analogy to every single one of the participants that I work with. I say, first of all, I see peer specialists like on a plate of food. The therapists, psychologists, clinician, doctors, they're the chicken. They're the ones that have the evidence behind that has the most effect on your body. And then peer specialists are kind of like the rice, because now, obviously, you can just have the chicken and it'll be effective, but the plate tastes better with the rice. It's a more filling experience if you have the rice as well. So it's kind of both, right? We complement each other. The chicken tastes better because there's rice, and the rice tastes better because there's chicken.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that in any industry, you have individuals that are really good at what they do and got into it for the right reasons, and you can see that in the outcomes of the people that they serve because they do care. But on the flip side of that, in every industry, you have people that really shouldn't be in that role, and that's on peer side and clinician side.
Yeah. Right. And to play devil's advocate, though, I will say, like, as a clinician, it's more beneficial to live by stats, in fact, than by emotion.
Well, for
as
sure.
a clinician, depending on what your role is.
When
I'm saying clinician, I'm thinking like a doctor working in surgery.
Well, no. Okay,
I'm not. So I don't
therapist.
know where.
Think about a therapist, because they do have emotions. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're humans. They're humans.
That's where the disconnect came from. Because I thought you were talking about like doctors, where I'm like, if someone's telling me something, but I know this is wrong and their leg's broken, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
So okay.
And they do a lot of evidence-based. And so does peer support, right? Like, there's a lot of evidence based. That's why I think they complement each other, because one has more of a skill and ability in certain techniques that they're doing to really go into the person, into their trauma and whatever. And we don't want to practice outside of our scope. So we support through that process, of somebody going and meeting maybe with a clinician and just kind of working hand in hand, where they're really good at this and we're really good at this. That's
exactly
the way I see it.
And now that I understand what you guys are talking about, that's exactly where I would see the difference too in a therapy session. Is they're going to have a lot more tools,
correct,
that are specifically designed in order to get you to specific places, versus a peer specialist. is going to have their way of how they did it. And they're going to be able to share that with you, and they're going to be able to hear your way of doing it and be able to have that bridge more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Okay.
All right, let's do two more.
Okay,
we'll go a little bit over.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Ooh, toxic positivity or harsh realism.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Toxic. Who wants to go first? You can go first.
Oh man, this is one of my favorite. It's kind of goes hand in
very
hand with the first one we had.
Yeah.
This job has taught me the danger of toxic positivity. Because the peer specialist approach comes through the perspective of we want to make sure that they're in control of their lives. So whatever goal they want to work on, that's the goal that we help support them in. So let's say if we're working really hard on their goal of finding a job as a doctor, just to give an example, and then halfway through they pivot, they say, actually no, I want to become a teacher instead. Yeah. Then we're like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? And they go, yes. And we're like, okay, how do you want to go about this? And we facilitate, and not facilitate, but we support them in the new journey, right?
Yeah.
However, there is a moment where, and I've seen it in my own experience here, where you have to have that heart to heart, kind of like you mentioned, where it's like, well, I understand you're frustrated. It sounds to me like this decision is coming because you're frustrated. So let's explore this a little bit. So what would happen if we continue to explore this route just a little further versus just pivoting right now and starting over from zero? And at that moment, they had to really think about it. They're like, no, I guess you're right. Yeah, the pivoting right now would be not the smart decision because we've already made it so far, right? And then we kept going, we kept grinding, and we got him what he wanted, right? So that's a great example of how if I would have just said, well, we got to be supportive, we got to be positive, we got to stay, go ahead, yeah, pivot right now. And he probably would have been in a lot worse situation than he ended up being in. So what was the other one?
Harsh realism.
Harsh realism, right? Here comes the other side of the coin, right? Where it's like, where being harsh about something could also damage the relationship with the person, right? It's the harsh part that I'm very weary on. You can be real, you can say the truth, like we talked about earlier, but it's the harshness that you need to be careful in.
Yeah.
Like imagine, I can only use my experience, so I can say, like, I've had people in my life tell me that the reason they don't go to doctors is because those doctors were harsh in the way they delivered the truth. There's somebody that I know in my life that told me, oh yeah, I went to the doctor once and they called me an enormous individual, and that I need to make better decisions, and it completely destroyed the way that I wanted to go to the doctor. And when I talked to him about it, I was like, what would have been a different way to go about it, a way that wouldn't offend you? And then they told me, they said, well, if they would have told me that I need to lose some weight because there's levels in my body that are heightened right now, I think I would have been more receptive to that conversation.
That's kind of like, it falls in line with that, like the whole red pill community where like I hear it a lot, and they say, they'll say like, doesn't matter how I say something. They'll be like, if I say something, does it matter in the tone I say it, or does it change the truth? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Where they'll be like, let's say like you're in your example, you're fat, you need to lose weight, versus saying, hey man, like I think I can help you out and give you a couple tools in order to lose the weight. Mm-hmm. You know, so. Absolutely. There's definitely people that are going to take it one thing and like getting bullied. Like it's almost like back to the bully thing. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to take that bullying thing and be like, damn, man, I ain't never going to let someone talk to me like that. I'm going to go lose weight. And some people will take it like, wow, like I'm going to go eat more because it just made me sad. So like it really is dependent on the person and what falls in line for them. That's tough. I mean, I definitely would prefer more of a harsh reality. Toxic positivity is the worst thing in the world to me. I think it's like the most annoying thing. And I say this coming from like from my life, and I specifically from the soccer team that I watch. We are known, our fan base is known as the most toxic
Arsenal.
We're the most toxic positive fans of all time. We're like, we accept mediocre. Our team 10 years, 15 years ago used to be champions. We used to win all the time. Now we come in like third, fourth place, and we're all so happy. It's like the greatest thing in life. People are so happy that we score a goal, beat a team, and it's like that to me. That's a form of toxic positivity because it's like everybody's so okay with mediocrity when we used to be here.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I'd rather have the harsh reality of like, hey guys, we're just not as good as we used to be. Let's stop being okay and happy about it, and let's lower our standards and get better, you know? And that's kind of where I am in all aspects of life. It's like, why am I going to be delulu about this is amazing in my life when it's not?
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, there are people, I don't want you to be like, if you feel like something in your life's not going the right way, don't think of it like, oh, I hate my life.
Right.
And don't find any positivity in it, because that's wrong too.
Yeah.
You should always look at something in a form of gratitude. I tell my friend that all the time. He's like, man, I don't have this. I don't have this. I'm like, bro, do you think God's ever going to bless you if all you do is complain about everything?
Yeah.
Like, bro, what's wrong with you?
For sure.
Like,
sure.
dude,
Yeah.
I'm not the most grateful person, but jeez, all you do is complain, and God is never going to give you anything.
Yeah.
Like,
What
ever.
do you have, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
for real.
sure.
Like, and it's
Just-
like,
it's
bro,
just
we
like
have
so,
so much
so
stuff.
much. Like,
We
I
have
have 2 eyes and I can see, bro. Like,
so
there's somebody who
much.
doesn't have that.
And
you know?
that's
Yeah.
beyond that.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good-looking guy. He's tall. He has all the things. It's like, dude, what are you freaking complaining about?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand people like you. But anyway.
yeah.
No, but yeah,
That's
you're.
good, that's
I
good.
agree with you.
Me too.
wholeheartedly.
I think like positivity should be intentional. Like, don't tell me I'm
100%.
amazing every day
Yeah.
without giving me like,
You know, it's
this
funny.
is what,
I love Peter. I love my dad. But sometimes I remember when I was younger, I would have to tell him like, yo, stop complimenting me. Like, I would do nothing. Like, I would do nothing. And he'd be like, I'm so happy. I'm proud of you. I'm like, bro, what am I doing right? Like, I'm not doing anything. And it's like, to me, it felt weird. And I know he just loves me.
Yeah, he just loves you.
But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, sometimes that's not beneficial for me. Like, I would rather him be like, yo, come on, bro, lock in. What are you doing this week? You didn't do nothing this weekend. You didn't even go out. You didn't even have a good time. And, you know, so like,
Yeah.
it comes down to the
It
balance
does.
of it.
It does.
But-
It does.
All right,
That was good.
Michael.
right,
last
last
question. Here we go.
That was
All right,
great.
I'm excited.
I'm
Here
gonna
we
open
go.
this too without looking. Or I'm gonna pick two and then choose one.
Sure.
between.
Yeah. I
right.
like that.
All right. Only road to recovery. All right. 12-step. Okay. Or there's many pathways. Or teens lazy versus stress. I'm gonna go teens lazy versus stress.
All right.
Wait, what is it?
Teens are they lazy or stress? Is that the
It's
question?
teens lazy or stressed, because the reason I wrote that one is because I obviously I work with youth, and one of the major things that I hear from their parents is well, they're just being lazy, and then I'm over here hearing like, well, there's a stressful environment at home. They have 8 classes that they have to complete and do homework for and listen to and be there. There's problems at school. They're being bullied, and a lot of the times, a lot of parents that I work with give me that example. They're like, "Oh, they're just lazy," and I'm like, "Are they lazy or are they just stressed and they just need a moment to chill?" You know, and maybe you could argue, well, like we're a generation where a lot of people are like lazy right now, and I understand why people believe that, because
Yeah.
I see it with my own eyes. Like I work with people.
Even myself, I'm lazy.
Yeah, like,
everybody's
there's-
lazy.
there's
We all
just-
use ChatGPT. We're all lazy. to a
Exactly.
degree, you know?
There's a general sense of laziness that we see in our current culture, and I totally agree with that. But to use it to mean that, as a way to say that the young person is like uninvolved or doesn't care about life or has a problem with them, that's when I have a big issue with using that word laziness, you know, because there's a difference. Like, are they being lazy or they're just trying to take a break because they just spent what it was 6-7 hours in school in front of a teacher talking to them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I mean,
I spend 8 hours in a training and I'm like, want to go to sleep when I get home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we don't have those same expectations for children or for youth when they're not sitting in front of one person. They're sitting in front of 7. And each one of them giving different amounts of information hours at a time.
Yeah.
And then the 1 hour they get to spend time as friends. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I think you choose to be lazy in the things that aren't a priority for them, nor are the things that they really care about, right? And as an adult, here's the difference: is the older you get in your maturity, you realize, damn, I have to do these things that I don't want to do because they still aren't a priority for me, or I don't want to do them, but I like have to do them because if I don't do them, nobody's gonna do them for me. So I think it's like a mixture of like depending on like how old we're talking about. Because I'm just thinking about like my son, who could be the most like locked in, focused person when it's something he cares about.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to perspective at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be extremely lazy kids, and there's going to be extremely hardworking kids.
I think teaching work ethic too.
Yeah, And also, I was gonna say, like, generations change. Like,
Yeah.
what was hardworking and like not lazy last 10 years ago is completely different now.
Well, because we have also like, I mean, when we look at society, we have technology, social media, the access of everything comes through buying packages online. Like people don't actually have to like, you know,
like lazy like 10 years ago could be like literally not doing anything. Lazy now could be on your phone all day.
Yeah.
And like not
that's true.
getting any value that way.
Which is because you're so distracted.
Yeah. So it really depends on how you look at it in perspective.
I just want to make sure, because where I'm coming from, I agree that could be considered laziness, right? It's when we try to place the identity on them.
For sure.
Like, this is the lazy generation, or the teens these days are lazy. I have a really big problem with that kind of mentality, because it's kind of like that conversation that we've had is when we start placing labels on
I wouldn't
people.
say lazy, though. I would say distracted.
Distracted is a good word,
Yeah.
but that's not the word that people are
I
using.
would say that as generations go on, people do become less I wouldn't say lazy, because I think there was a big period of time where generations were slacking for sure, but I think this new generation of kids are very on it.
Yeah.
I think they're very on it. The thing is, they're on it with things that aren't considered on it. They're not doctors.
Right.
They're not.
And that's kind of
they're
my
on
point.
TikTok. They're
That's
like crypto kids.
And that's
They're
one of my
like
point.
that.
Like
Gamers, streamers.
I don't like the idea. It's just the labeling of it. It's like if you tell somebody enough times that they're lazy, chances are that they're going to start doing things that
I think it's
mimic
because
laziness.
older generations don't understand what they weren't brought. Like, so we are kind of like in the mid, right? Like we're like mid in terms of like, we're not the younger generation, but we were still brought in a little bit into kind of like that realm to where we have like an understanding of that things are just different.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the older generations, they don't have that understanding and they only know like what they know. And so when they look at the younger generation, because they can't like connect with what the youth are like doing, what their like lifestyles are about, understanding the technology aspect, the new ways of making money.
You could be a crypto trader, sit at home all day long, never move, and be overweight and be a millionaire.
Right.
And someone could call you lazy, but you'd be successful and you'd be hardworking and financially free. So like, it all comes down to perspective of what is lazy to you, or because lazy has a specific term, right? It's gonna have like a term of like not wanting to do a specific exercise, whatever the term is of it. It's not gonna be like they don't want to do nothing or they don't do nothing. So it really just depends on that person and what they are doing to be called lazy.
Right.
You know, what is the laziness involved in their life? Because yes, people are innately lazy. I think humans are innately lazy. We want to not do nothing. I think if you were given the decision to like, hey, Chris, if you want to have a six-pack and be rich and not do anything, would you do it? Yeah, I think most people would. But the thing is, everybody understands that's not how life works. So people take different convictions and different things in order to get to those goals.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge misconception with like lazy and rest, because sometimes we look at in society, like if you're not busy, then you're not like, you know, successful or productive. And I just don't think that that's necessarily the right way of looking at things too. Because I think that there should be a balance of like rest, and we shouldn't feel shame for resting. And I speak to myself with that.
Even
sometimes,
God didn't work every day.
Right. So it's like, but he only did that for an example for us because he could, you know, like he's God. But he did that literally because he knows we as humans, some of us,
and
at
even
least,
more to your point, like you said, he didn't do that because he had to. He did it because he understood the importance of
Correct.
rest. It's
Correct.
not like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm God, I need a rest. It's I'm God, and even I understand the importance of having one day to rest, solely on rest.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah.
Well, that was the episode.
Awesome.
What a great idea, Michael.
No, that was great.
that was
I
awesome.
thought it was cool. I don't want to take it solely on my idea. I just thought like it'd be cool to have us form questions, and it really wasn't my
Love it.
idea.
It
It was
was
your
good.
ideas as well. You know.
Well, I just want to say this was a great idea, and we're going to do it again soon.
Yeah, for
other
sure.
than that, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to just listen to us ramble and talk about some serious conversations. Please like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends and family and anybody else that you
Or
want.
someone might call you lazy.
Or someone might call you lazy, and you don't want that. Thank you so much. For our audio listeners, we see you, we love you, we care about you, and we thank you for rating the podcast 5 stars, maybe? I don't know. But other than that, we will see you next week. Bye-bye for now. Be well.